Next Realty Team. Let's wake up and be empowered. As you know, this is George Lopez, co-founder of the Generation Next Realty Team of Keller Williams, where we help you to buy, sell, and invest in real estate. You can call us at any time at 757-614-1027. We're always here for you. Alongside me is my amazing and beautiful wife, Shemaine. She's the co-founder of Carry On the Media, where she helps you to make your brand human. Good morning, baby.
Good morning, babe. How are you this morning?
I am doing fantastic. How about you?
I am doing fantastic too.
That makes the two of us.
Testimony Thursday.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have a veteran here this morning.
Yes, we do. Today's topic and conversation.
I am too.
Today is a testimony on the healing power of laughter. You know, we love to laugh in this house.
I'm laughing already.
You started out this morning laughing, yeah. So, but there's healing in that. So I'm looking forward to this conversation with Mr. Fred McKinnon, and he is a Navy veteran.
Yes.
So please read the bio, and we will get right into that conversation.
I'll be honored to do so. Mr. Fred McKinnon, aka Team Fred, is a veteran United States Army officer, now comedian and Armed Services Arts Partnership ASAP comedy instructor. Fred is a native of Hampton, Virginia, a Christian father and a disabled military veteran, now working as a government civilian for the Department of the Army. Mr. Fred McKinnon started comedy in February 2013. In his first 10 months of comedy, he won 3 Clash of Comics competition at the VA Virginia Beach Funny Bone. Fred also conducts a seminar called Humor Your Stress that he gives to military and civilians, and it targets how to deal with stress through faith and humor. Mr. Fred McKinnon is also the lead comedy boot camp instructor for the nonprofit organization Armed Services Arts Partnership, which offers free creative arts classes to active duty military, dependents, and military veterans. The goal is to help get ASAP in every Virginia hospital.
ASAP.
Yeah, in every Virginia hospital to teach coping mechanisms through comedy to those struggling with addiction and PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Fred performed at various comedy venues, but loves performing at churches around the country. Fred has opened up for nationally known great comics. A highlight of his career so far is performance at the White House in 2016. Military Veteran Comedy Show. Okay. On June 25th, 2021, Fred McKinnon, aka Team Fred, also performed for the troops at Langley Air Force Base.
Awesome.
Good morning, Mr. Fred McKinnon. We're glad to have you.
Yes.
Hey, glad to be here. Thank you, guys. You was reading the bio. I was like, who are you talking about? Nah.
And I was sitting here saying, wow, what an impressive bio.
Yes.
And just thank you again for serving. You know, we're military family, and you know, we have a blended family, and of course, those that know us know that we have 7 children blended together, 6 of who have served or currently serving. And of course, my husband did 30 years in the military as well. So we have a heart and a soul for the military.
Yes, we do.
And
Yes,
all of its loving complexities.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Causes when it comes to our veterans. 1 is our homeless veterans, and 2 is our veteran suicide. You know,
so it actually complements what you do.
Yes, it actually complements what you do. So we do need to partner together with your endeavor, in our endeavors. So we will definitely talk about that offline.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So what made you join the military? Were you 17 and gotta leave home? What?
I was 17 with no money. No, actually coming from a single family home. I was an average athlete, and I was asking you to go to college. And we looked across the board, and back in those days, unfortunately, you know, you could be a 4.0 student and still struggle with finding finances to go to college. So they set me down and said, hey, we have this thing called ROTC scholarship. Now, I was not familiar with ROTC. I was not an ROTC in high school. But when she put it in front of me and said, hey, they'll pay for you to go to college for free, Only thing you have to do is serve 8 years once you graduate from college. And she said, it would guarantee you a job once you graduate from college. I was like, okay, I'm in. So yeah, I got commissioned to join. I went to RTC at North Carolina A&T State University, Aggie Pride. And I graduated and I became a commissioned officer in the Army. But that's definitely how I got involved in the military. I had no prior experience. My mom and dad was not in the military, but I'm glad I made that decision. And they gave me the opportunity to go to college free of charge. So that's the reason how I got involved.
Amen. That's a powerful.
Yes, it is. It is a
story.
powerful story indeed. You know, our thing is, if you don't have a sense of direction at 16, 17, 18, coming out of high school, the military is a great way to start your life. You know,
I totally agree. And even if you do have a sense of direction nowadays, you know, a lot of times kids that go to college get a degree and still have a hard time finding a job with a degree. So the military is a way where you can kind of still get your degree and still get some leadership skills and discipline that'll be beneficial later on in life. So I suggest a lot to our viewers and a lot of young people, even if you know what you want to do, join the military, because that way you'll have opportunities to at least have a job until you can figure it out. So I salute that.
excellent point. Excellent point.
Amen.
So what challenge did you face as an African-American Army officer?
Well, I think the stigma back in those days is that as an African American in general, seemed like we had to work twice as hard.
You telling? Who are you telling? Go ahead.
You have to work twice as hard as our counterparts. So it was just one of those things where, even though I was an officer in the military, I had to earn the position that I carried. And I had to go above and beyond the call of duty. So I had to be the best of the best. And a lot of times when you're trying to do that, it leaves small room for error. Because if I made a mistake, then it would be magnified to say, oh, and also even from other African Americans who weren't officers, from my enlisted soldiers, a lot of time they would look at me and consider me a Uncle Tom. Sides of, hey, you think you're better than us? I'm like, no, I just made a different decision. Or for my counterparts, hey, you got to work twice as hard. And so dealing with that at the age of 20, 21, 22, can be a challenge, especially when you're going from high school, no experience, to even college, getting academically sound, to now I'm a leader. I'm in control, or I'm in charge of like 55 soldiers who look at me as, maybe like a father figure. And I didn't have kids. I'm doing marriage counseling. I wasn't married. I'm doing academic or accounting counseling. I didn't have any financial background. So those are some of the struggles you deal with. Not only being a leader, but being an African-American leader in the military during those times.
Well, Fred, it seemed like you and I had a conversation before we got on the radio this morning, but I faced similar challenges as well, even though I went to the enlisted side and I was able to achieve the rank of Master Chief. I did attend the Army Sergeant's Major Academy, and I faced similar challenges on both sides. Thing here this morning. So how your transition out of the military to civilian life?
The transition was, at the time, I thought was an easy one, but I didn't realize maybe some internal issues, emotional issues that I had when I transitioned out. Because when I got out, they gave me the opportunity to have a disability evaluation, which was a disability physical. And at the time, I'm like, no, I'm good. I can run 2 miles. I can do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups in 2 minutes. I don't need any evaluation. I'm good to go. I thought I was mentally sound. So that transition, and not only myself, for a lot of soldiers, we assume that, we don't need an evaluation. We don't need, any type of support. So we take our military experience right into the civilian side, and it's a different monster. You got to imagine going from being a leader where people saluted me every day and called me sir, now to a civilian where I'm just Fred. They don't look at no rank on my hat, or, they don't care that I'm in charge. They'll challenge me. And sometimes, I struggle with that. Because how do you take the rank? That person at the house that, you're married to, that's not one of your soldiers. And she definitely would let you know right away, hey, you keep that at home. And for me, it was a struggle to separate the two. And then you're dealing with somebody that unfortunately had an ego because that power gave me a sense of entitlement that I struggled with a long time before I decided to say, you know what, maybe I need to take a step back and maybe reach out for help to help just, analyze some of the things that was going in my mind. So again, this platform and other platforms that I'm part of is just trying to give a testimony, not only from a, laughter standpoint, but from a standpoint of, hey, there's nothing wrong with getting help or talking to somebody about some of the things that go up in your mind. And my mentor tells me, never go upstairs by yourself. It's too dark and you need somebody with a flashlight to help you navigate, what's up here. So I try to do that every day now, and it's been beneficial so far.
Yeah. What a powerful statement, never go upstairs by yourself. Because in the military, you're also in a buddy system. So, and also there's a sense of strength. And when you come out of the military, there's a sense of strength in the military. There's a strength of, I can do it all. Nothing can faze me. I am all this and then some. And then you're thrust into the civilian world where you're one of many, and then you're left to try to navigate it all. I would think that that in itself should be, you have to have someone walk you through that for a very long time. Particularly if you are in a position of authority, which most people are. The way military is set up, you're constantly ranking up. So it's good to know that you made that transition and you had good people speaking into your life to help direct you. So now you're in the civilian world. You're in the process of getting help, and then you find comedy. Yeah. How did you find comedy?
I come from a family where we joke all the time. We use I realize now that we were using humor to cover up, from crying. We would get together as a family on a regular basis. My cousins would come around my mom's house, and you would think that we were not family the way we talked about each other. But it's something that, I grew up on. So everybody always say I was funny. I never thought about being a comedian until about 7 years ago. I worked at Fort Eustis for the Department of the Army as a civilian. And one of the lieutenant colonels came to our department, and he started working. He's an African-American guy, and then Rob Smith. And I mean, after months of working with him, he pulled me to the side and he said, hey man, I'm gonna tell you something. I don't know how you're gonna take it. He said, but I think you miss your calling. And I'm like, I've never heard somebody associate humor or being funny as a calling. He was an elder at his church, and he said, I'm gonna speak over your life. This is a calling that you need to explore. You have the ability to affect people's life in a positive way through humor. He said, I could be having a bad day, and even when you walk into the room, I'm like, okay, this fool in a positive way is going to say something that changes my mindset to kind of get me out of my negative way of thinking. So we made a bet on a football game. I won't tell you the teams because I can't give any shout out to the Cowboys, but they beat my team. And the bet was if I lost, I had to go down to the local comedy club called Kazi's, which is the oldest comedy club in Virginia, and do the open mic. And every Thursday they have an open mic. So I went down there and I said some things, and I noticed that when people laughed, it gave me a sense of acceptance, belonging. And it was like, I don't want to equivalent to like a drug, but it gave me something that I never felt before that kind of resonated with me, and it kept me up all night. And I would go back every Thursday and try out some new material, and it just birthed into something more than I ever could have imagined. Wow. So that's how I got involved.
Yeah. So it seems like comedy became a therapy. So how is that therapeutic for you?
I have the ability to, it's like counseling. When you go to a counselor, you're supposed to share some of your inner thoughts so that it doesn't hold power over you. I have the ability to get on stage, and the audience doesn't know that what I'm talking about is things that I'm struggling with, because I tell people comedy is 90% true, 10% fabricated. And the audience has to figure out which is which. I know which is which. So I could talk about being raised in a single family home and the struggles and put a little joke on it. And that's therapeutic for me to get it out of my system, because I was also taught that if you keep it inside, it can control you. But if you put it out in the atmosphere, other people can listen and be like, hey, something's not right about that. So you may want to come talk to somebody. So every time I get on stage now, that I have a little bit of experience. It's not about the audience. It's about me getting what's inside of me out, so it doesn't keep me captive.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That is powerful. You know, last night, I mentioned to my wife, I said, babe, we have Funny Man coming on in the morning, and she started laughing.
But let me tell you, in our home, we laugh all the time,
yes,
because we have multiple businesses, so humor has to be at the forefront. And my husband says often, he's like, if people really knew the type of sense of humor you have, I said, then that's why it's for you. Because
Exactly.
like, yeah, it's something. But you know, and it just goes back to the therapy. I use it as therapy as well. You know, I get to say and think and the things that I'm thinking and bring some humor to it. Of course, I'm not confident as you to go in front of people and do that. But you know, it's something that definitely works for us here in our home.
I will say this, I put myself in a situation to be vulnerable every time I get on stage, because I have so much stage fright. People won't even know it, that before an event, I'm pacing outside. I got the bubble guts. I'm nervous. I'm just so, you know, so I put myself in a vulnerable position to challenge myself, because by nature, I would never put myself in a situation to be judged. And doing comedy, when I step on stage, I'm putting myself in a vulnerable position to be judged. So I have to overcome a lot of anxiety myself to even get on stage, because what you see on stage, it takes a lot of emotional, spiritual, you know, getting myself together. And I hadn't always used positive coping mechanisms to get on stage. You know, a lot of us would, let me take a shot of alcohol so I can just, you know, lower my inhibitions, and then that could add another element of surprise as well. But yeah, definitely.
Everybody be surprised.
Yeah, everybody be surprised.
But no one knows, right? But no one knows that you're going through that anxiety. You're the only one that knows that.
I'm the only one that knows that. The other comedians, they always thought I was standoffish, because I could never watch somebody else perform. Before I go on, I had to go outside. I'd be in the car. I'd be pacing. I'd be sweating. I'd be like, man, you know, even before I came on here, I told the lady, I got time to use the bathroom. You know, like I got, it's like, So, but it lets me know that I'm ready. And the more I do it, I know I'm doing it for a bigger cause other than myself. So I try to overcome it. And yeah, but it's definitely challenging to get on stage or even to do interviews, because I put myself in a vulnerable position. But that's what I feel like I'm called to do, and I can help people by giving my testimony, if I tell them what I struggle with, and even stuff I struggle with now, that people can see it and be like, you know what, if that guy can go out and get help and try to be a better person.
Tell us about your seminar called Humor Your Stress. Because I'm just loving this conversation, because of course I use humor to reduce my stress. And so can you tell us about the seminar? And I would love to sign up for it, because I just feel that it's something that everyone needs to do. But tell us about it, please.
When I started comedy, like I said, I was doing the open mics, and then I had the opportunity to go to the Virginia Beach Funny Bone and start competing in competitions. And somebody that was at one of the events realized that I was a military veteran, and they thought the powerful, how laughter was powerful. And they actually asked me to come and talk to a group of military active duty soldiers members that were transitioning out. I think it was called ACAP, Army Career Assistance Program. It's a class you go through as you're transitioning out. So I came up with a name. I said, I called it Humor Your Stress. And I went and talked to a group of, active duty soldiers that were transitioning out, and it just caught on. I told them how to take their life experiences and, again, try to turn them into something funny. And instead of using, alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, you can use your faith, your church, you can use humor as a way to laugh at yourself. And I saw the power in being able to laugh at myself, even though I'm talking about some of the dark things that I've experienced. So it's basically trying to use humor to get out of yourself. And as you said, that when you laugh, it kind of just changes your mentality just for that moment. You could be grieving, you could be having to smile. Laughter is almost equivalent to a good cry. Mm-hmm. So again, it's something that I started, and it started catching on. And then I started going around and doing that for other organizations. And then I got a part of the nonprofit that I currently work for now. to teach comedy. So again, it just started out basically, you know, one opportunity talking to a group of veterans, and I turned it into a seminar. So it's been very beneficial.
So if someone is interested in participating in the seminar, or maybe having the hosting the seminar at their location, maybe their church, or maybe at a military, various military installations or events or functions, how can they get in touch with you?
They can go to my website, is www.iamteamfred.com. They can call me. You know, I'm an open book, 757-506-5660. And then we can set up a session where I can come out to the organization and just talk to them about, you know, basically my testimony, my story, and how humor has helped me, you know, deal with a lot of issues that I've been dealing with. Or if they want to be a part of the nonprofit. Now, the nonprofit is something separate where we actually offer free creative arts classes to military veterans. It's based out of DC. I happen to be the comedy instructor in the 757 area. And it's kind of the same thing. We use humor as a positive coping mechanism, but we just don't do comedy. We have improv, we have poetry, music, acting. And what we found is that the creative arts is a way for veterans or just anybody to tap into that inner creative side that helps you get out of your way of thinking. Yeah. So again, it's two separate organizations. Team Fred would do humor and stress for any organization, but the nonprofit ASAP, and let me try that, that's not the alcohol substance abuse program, but it's the other ASAP. Yeah, the other ASAP. So, that's geared toward military veterans, dependents, and active duty soldiers. So I'm just surrounded by a bunch of organizations that are about, you know, using different positive coping mechanisms to deal with life.
Yeah. Well, Georgia and I definitely want to talk to you about being part of introducing you to the Stan Matthews Broadcasting System Network, and so, or MBN. Really want to make that conversation happen. George is part of a military group there. I'm not sure if you're aware, but George push-ups every day. He does it 3 times a year for military veterans who are, you know,
committing suicide,
who are thinking about committing suicide. Yeah. So it's a challenge. It's a 22-day challenge of 22 push-ups, really to help bring awareness to military veterans who are dealing with PTSD and stress and suicide. So we have a group he has a group that he's working with, and we'd love to have you connect with that, because I think you could, it's a win-win-win. It's amazing how God works it all out. I'm just in amazement of God, I'm telling you.
I'm just sitting here listening to you guys, and I told this to the young lady that contacted me to be on the show. And as we're talking, I was thinking, as you just speaking, I'm like, God doesn't make any mistakes, because what I'm gonna show you is that right now, I've had the opportunity to have a weekly radio show myself, where I talk about different benefits or services for the military community, and it's nationwide. I'm currently at the radio station now because on Thursdays at 10 o'clock, we record our weekly show. So now that you guys are saying that, I'm going to extend the opportunity for Mr. Lopez to come in studio to talk about what he's doing in reference to your businesses and the things you're doing for veterans, because just last week, we had on the show a sergeant major from Fort Eustis who almost tried to commit suicide. And he talked about how he overcame that because he had survivor's guilt from being in the military. So to you, George Lopez, sir, I'm going to extend an opportunity. We can talk offline after this, to come on our weekly radio show, which is 1049, which is the praise radio station in the 757. It's the gospel radio station. We're nationwide. We broadcast out of Chesapeake, Virginia, but we have flagship offices in Jacksonville, Dallas, Texas, where this show is broadcasted across the nation. So I'm at the station now. I'm about to record, and today we're talking about AER, the Army Emergency Relief Program, how we can help, you know, provide services from education, academics, recovery, and we put out weekly information to the veteran population. So, sir, what you're talking about in your organization, after this call, we're going to get you booked to come in the new year and be a part of our weekly radio show at 1049 The Praise.
Well, thank you. Wow.
Thank you, Fred. I greatly appreciate that. You know, I'm a little teared up right now because, you know, I'm awed by God's work every day. And what we're doing is bringing awareness to homeless veterans and veterans that are committing suicide. And I'm just so impressed by, you know, what you're doing, not only, you know, bringing humor to our veterans, but also to our civilians. And, you know, you having that platform to educate the public at large about, you know, what veterans go through and the kind of support that they need. So I will definitely partner with you, you know, when it comes to that. That's without question. You know, our veterans are out there right now, and the ones that have gone before us, they've put their lives on the line. They have sacrificed for this country, especially for people that look like you and me and live a life where they're not recognized. And here we are sacrificing our lives for people who don't love us, who don't recognize us. And we try to get medical care for ourselves and our family, and we're still kicked to the curb, and you know, emotionally and financially and spiritually, we are down, and we still got to pick ourselves up off the floor, and they still expect us to be strong.
Amen. And one thing I've noticed is that even in the military and life, you know, and I know we come up on time, is that my whole life I've been taught how to do something. I've been taught what to do, but I haven't been taught who I need to be to do it. And that's one of the things that, you know, I struggle with. I can open up a book and read how to put an equation together. I could put a house together. I could do all these things, but it's who I need to be in order to walk out my purpose that God has in my life. And what I'm trying to do, I'm not waiting to the new year. I don't do New Year's resolution. I'm trying to start every day I wake up to say, God, who do I need to be for my life? And I haven't always been that person. I could be this great comedian, do all these things, but if my character and my integrity and all these things are not lined up, then I'm doing it for naught. Because I try to live a life, I'm trying to live a life that no matter who comes across me, they don't have two different interpretations of who I am. And right now you may talk to some people like, oh yeah, this is this guy, or this is this guy. And as I move forward, I'm trying to be consistent across the board with everybody I encounter. And I believe in order to do that, I got to get out of myself and do these projects and walk in the purpose that God has in my life. And the only thing I can do that is by talking about what I struggle with. And I feel so good now, every time I do some of these interviews, to be able to get this stuff out of my system. And I feel better because I feel like I'm helping other people who may be, you know, struggling with things I'm struggling with.
Amen.
We're all going through the same struggle, my brother. We're all going through the same struggle. And resiliency is key, because you know, we cannot allow ourselves to fall apart despite, you know, the adversity of what we're going through. So let's stay strong.
Amen.
Amen.
So we're at that, almost at 2 minutes away from that 9 o'clock hour. What would you, what is your call to action?
I believe my call to action again is, you know, I always prayed for God to give me a platform, you know, as a comedian, as a person, to be able to reach as many people as possible. And I thought that meant I would be standing in some arena with a sold out crowd, you know, with 30,000 people, you know, maybe doing jokes or trying to help them. And God reminded me that I was limiting myself, because now, you know, I'm on the radio, and I never thought I would be on the radio, never thought I would be a comedian telling jokes. And now I have a platform to reach, you know, millions of people with just telling my story. So my thing is now, my calling is to be as authentic as I can and be as transparent as I can, and helps in hopes that it helps somebody who just may be listening and going through something and be like, you know what, if that guy can be honest about his struggles and what he deals with on a day-to-day basis, then it's okay for me to talk about the same thing and maybe reach my hand out and get help. So again, you know, I'm just trying to, you know, one day at a time, help somebody, you know, that's maybe struggling or maybe not be struggling, maybe be an inspiration to people to say, hey, you know, I hit rock bottom. The only unfortunate thing for me, my rock bottom had trap doors. So I definitely, you know, have to be careful. I heard the pastor say this, and I'll end. Be careful where you hide, because the things that you're running inside. And I was hiding in places with, you know, alcohol and drugs and things like that I thought was beneficial to me. But the things that I was running from, if I got help from, I wouldn't need to turn to those things. And now I'm trying to, you know, just help other people understand that you have to be careful where you hide, because the things that's where you hiding may be more detrimental than what you're running from. So that's why I try to tell people.
Amen. Well, thank you so much. This
Yes,
has
thank
been
you, thank you,
an
Fred.
awesome conversation. Again, the Empowered Lifestyle television radio show. We have a television network that we are just launching as well. Is educate, inspire, encourage, and of course empower. And today we have accomplished that. Thank you so much for your generosity. May God give you more than you poured out today.
Thank you much, sir. I salute you.
All right, salute you back.
Thank you so much. The Empowered Lifestyle Radio Show is about a God consciousness that permeates yourself on a daily basis. It's about living life to the fullest and bringing out the best in you. Live the life God has intended for you to live and win the day. And as always, thank you for tuning into the Empowered Lifestyle Radio Show with George Lopez and the Generation Next Realty team. Move forward with strength and courage and be prepared to
win the day.
Win the day, win the day, win the day.
Win it.